Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Daniel. In response to the affirmative's first claim that testing on animals is immoral, I would first like to point out that morality is somewhat is ambiguous, and what's considered to be moral is often what's accepted by the general public. And yeah, one of the things that the affirmative pointed out was that 95% or a lot of the animals that are tested on aren't protected by the Animal Welfare Act. However, those animals that are the ones tested on are bred for that purpose, so that they're not animals that are just taken for from like their natural habitat, or animals that we generally regard as pets, or animals that we regard as being like friends to mankind. So is that the second claim that there's no positive effects is just completely miscued. There's in fact countless medical advances that can be attributed to animal testing. For instance, blood transfusion was a technique developed by testing it with dogs in 1914, and now is a common practice for major surgeries and things that happen medically. The polio vaccine was found after years of research on monkeys, and led to the introduction of the vaccine in the 1950s. And after the introduction of this vaccine, the world, or America, set out to destroy the virus, and virtually 99.9% of the polio virus doesn't exist, and virtually polio is an extinct disease. Insulin for diabetes was found inside of dogs, and the discovery of this was awarded. The scientists who discovered this were awarded the Nobel Prize in 1923 for it. Penicillin was first tested in mice in 1940, and by 1941, penicillin was used to treat dying soldiers in World War II, and the scientists responsible for this were awarded the Nobel Prize in 1945. Botox is just one very small example of a failed animal test. There are just so many different kinds of examples that were used in so many medical advances. Anesthesia was first tested on animals when they discovered that an induced coma, sleep-like state, could be achieved in animals, and now that's common to use in any kind of procedure. Also, animal tests help pets as well. Anytime you give your dog medicine, you give them a flea vaccination or anything like that, that had to happen on an animal first, so that everyone else would know that it's safe to do on your pets. The American Veterinary Association, a veterinarian wrote that veterinary medicine relies on animal testing in much the same way as the medical field relies on animal testing for humans. Drugs and similar treatments are developed by first treating them on animals in controlled situations. So without these controlled situations, using animals as tests, we wouldn't have these medicines and different things, and we wouldn't know that they're safe for our animals that we love and are so dear to us. Like I said, according to the Foundation of Biomedical Research, approximately 95% of all lab animals are rodents bred specifically for research. So when animal research is occurring, it's happening on animals that aren't pets or things that we necessarily regard as special or that awesome. As for alternate methods are concerned, diminishing use of animals in tests is actually occurring. According to medical journals, Medical Advances in Animal Testing, the Contribution of Animal Science to the Medical Revolution, wrote that non-animal methods now account for about 90% of medical research and these alternate methods include mathematical and computer models, advanced tissue and cell culture, and scanning technology, just as the affirmative stated earlier. So, as you can see, there are many benefits to animal research, and while you may not be able to excuse the fact that animals might be mistreated, it's one thing to say, or to put an animal's life above humans, and if it came down to it, I think one of us had a family member or someone close to us, and they could be saved through some kind of something that's attributable to animal testing, then we would make that decision to do that. So, that's kind of it. Yeah.